let me send you.
And then you need to set up your mic, Elizabeth.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll send you this, but I'll also after the interview, I'm gonna look and see if I can send you something else,
Okay.
and then maybe David will. Let's see. Let me send you this. At least it'll get you started. And okay, all right, so that's done. And then I'll send you a few more things as we progress. So okay, this is kind of cool. So I have a little bit of history stuff that I want to ask Mary Bridget
Oh,
about.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, and okay. So Richard, let me just grab another tea. I just I have to say, Mary Bridget, I'm a little bit. This is my first interview back. Richard covered for me last week. I had my fourth. Can you believe it? My fourth hip replacement. I was a
Stop it.
dancer, so
Yeah.
yeah. So people that have my background, they have.
No, I did. I did competitive dance my whole youth
Oh
and
right,
up
so
and
you
then
know
taught
the
in my
hip
20s.
bend,
And my ortho and everyone's already like, "Oh, well, we're probably going to start with your right one here soon enough." They're like, "You're young, but you're getting close." So I was like,
So
"Oh man,
yeah, so
okay."
I was 48 with my first one, and that was nuts.
Sure.
So
That is young.
precedingly, um, so the problem is that by pro how is it prolific? What's the word, Richard? A predilection by predilection and by training, I had more greater range of motion than my bones would allow. So that
Oh,
was an
sure.
so this is the first time I'm back, and it it's so frustrating because these so you'll run into this, Bridget. They're like, "Oh, nice
Yeah.
old lady, blah 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 blah." Okay, but I'm not your typical patient.
Not at
Um,
all. No, you're active and right.
it's so I do bar every morning and this sort of thing. So I'm just not your and they're oh dear, blah 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 blah. I say, no, don't do this
Not
to me.
me. Yeah. Nope.
So yeah, so I mean, I guess the key is to make the surgeon aware, because the surgeon, if they're talking to you about this, the surgeon can actually look at your range of motion, which I wish I would have had him do, and say,
Right.
we're going to put a different size cup in the prosthetic,
Oh,
so
right.
that, yeah, so that you either have a smaller range of motion or greater range of motion. And so you want to kind of be like, look, I don't want to be in out, same prosthetic as that old lady and that old lady. I kind of want, you know,
I want it like yeah, like
I want you to know
curated
what
for
my
you.
body
Yeah,
can
your
do.
actual need. Right.
That's right. I want you to know what I've trained to do.
That is good insight. Thank you.
I know. All right, Richard, I'm just gonna grab an extra tea so you can see that this one side I actually have a hip. I never had hips before. I've got
Right.
a hip on that side, which is like wow. I have a butt.
You're like, look at me go. Right.
All I can say is TMI.
Oh, well, yeah, but it's funny because like literally when I was talking to my doctor, they're like, you're young. You're probably going to need to have this done when you're young. And I'm like, I don't care. Shouldn't we? And they said, yeah, the way that they make them now, they last like 30 some 40 something years. I'm like, oh, cool. Well,
That's
if
what
I can
they
do
say, but it's not true.
it.
They
Right. I
don't
was like,
last.
well, hope. I was like, just get me to the end. I don't care.
So the issue is, Mary Bridget, they do last 30, 40 years, but not if you're on stage. Not if you're, I
Right.
mean,
Because
not
you're
if you're
using
doing
them
what you're
far
doing.
more than a lay person. That's a good point.
It's like it's just not gonna. It's gonna be a 10-year kind of thing
Right.
for you because they just don't get it. They don't understand. Um,
That you're an athlete. Right. And it should be treated differently.
it's
Right.
a yeah. So hammer those people and say, look,
I know.
anyway, so I want you to, let's see what we're going to do first. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you, and then I kind of want to know, so while I'm introducing you, I kind of want to think about, um, I want to think about shape shifting, actually. I want to see what you think about, um, taking this persona and
Yeah.
becoming, yeah, I want to know what that's like. And I'm not just interested in, oh yeah, this is like this and blah 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 in my performing life, but I kind of want to know. Okay, I'll give you just a little bit background. So my sister is an actress. I never know what I'm going to get when I get with my sister. I never know if I'm going to get her or if I'm going to get the part she's playing. I never know.
Oh,
And I never know what she's going to like if we go somewhere and we have a hotel room together. I never know what she's going to scream out in her sleep, what part she, all this, it goes right in there.
oh,
And,
wow.
and so when I was looking at you, I was thinking, I wonder if that's something where you're like, yeah, I definitely get it because you're so into this one persona, and
Yeah,
Richard's gonna get all Jungian on you for sure and say, well, persona means mask, in Greek and all this sort of thing, which is
right.
what the Dionysian version of persona means. So I was interested in that, and I was interested in how you handle that, if it's ever a liability, if it's ever.
You
Um,
ready?
Oh,
yes.
sure. Absolutely. Well, we had some accidental parallels just in early life in general, because when I was in my
Oh,
late
don't tell
teens,
me
early
now. Don't tell
20s,
me
Okay.
now.
I
Yeah,
wanted,
yeah, yeah. Hold
oh,
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. We
Mary,
haven't
Richard, don't
started
tell
the
me now
interview
we'll
because
yet.
think about it for,
Richard's going to do his thing, and so
Yep.
then yeah, definitely. I see
oh,
that you, and I want to hear about those, but
Yeah.
Richard's going to stop you because he wants it
Yep.
fresh.
yeah,
All right. Here we go. We're
Okay.
starting from the top
for
in
sure.
3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hello, 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 Santa Barbara. It's your chantress of everything
Oh, wait,
valuable.
wait, wait. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You got to fix your mic. You're not on your Yeti. You're not coming through on your Yeti. You don't sound.
Really?
Nope.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, test, test, test.
Oh, there you go. All right. Countdown in 3, 2, 1. You're live.
Hello, 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 Santa Barbara. It's your chantress of everything valuable and beautiful, Elizabeth Stewart. I've got a really cool interview today. Mary Bridget Davies is here, and we're going to talk a little bit about A Night with Janis Joplin. It's a one-woman show, essentially. And we are here at the Ensemble Theater Company, actually. I read about this, and I read about how there's a lot of parallels between the actor and the singer and what she brings to the stage.
Sure.
And I also want to talk a little bit about the legacy, where, so that I'm just really interested in the historical side of this as well. So as far as musicology, what Mary Bridget is bringing forth when she's studying Janis
Sure.
Joplin. I want to talk about that as we go. So anyway, first of all, dear listener, let me introduce Mary Bridget Davis. She's co-director, actually. She's a Tony Award nominee, lead role in A Night with Janis Joplin. She reprised her role in 2024, and I found her just a few minutes ago, Richard, and you've got that YouTube thing now. Yeah, which she premiered in London at the West End debut. That must have been something else.
Oh, it was
Fantastic.
incredible. Yeah.
Fantastic. Critically acclaimed live album Freedom of My Mind at the Power Station.
Yeah.
First compilation album, Don't Compromise Yourself, the very best of Mary Bridget Davies, released in 2024. Wow.
And so she is a dancer trained and transitioned to singing and acting. Something Dada Improvisational Comedy Club in Cleveland. And then she was studying at the Second City Satellite Campus. Was that in Chicago as well? The Second
Oh
City?
yeah, still is in
Oh,
Chicago.
that's what, yeah. So this marked the beginning of a series of accolades. Helen Hayes Award in 2020, actually 2013, Blues Blast Award nomination, a winner of the 2014 Outer Critics Circle Award, Theater Award, etc. Another album, 2019, Stay With Me, the reimagined songs of the late, oh, wow. Jerry, how do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
What's his last name?
Jerry
Ragaboy. Okay, the
Ragaboy.
songwriter who wrote the Joplin classics, Piece of My Heart and Cry Baby. Oh, that's another person we should talk about.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. She starred as Virginia Woolf in The Room of One's Own in 2022, a play with original music at the Cabaret 54 Low, and the Public Theater, Joe's Pub. Tackled the lead role as narrator in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. She's the star of Don't Compromise production Women Who Rock You, a live concert series which made its industry showcase at Public Theaters, Joe's Pub, in just recently in
last summer, not even a year ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's fantastic. She's an advocate for women's rights. She's a single mother and a caregiver. Yes. I don't know how she balances this with all these credits here. She
right.
Amazing.
Sleep 2 hours a night.
Yeah, sleep is underrated, but yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess I want to start by the question that I had on my mind, Mary Bridget, is how this, how this character, how Janis Joplin that you portray so beautifully, how this character influences Mary Bridget Davies, and if she influences, your, I guess, subconscious, unconscious.
For sure. This is my parents' music for sure. And so it was on in the house. And so I was just kind of like, through osmosis, soaking up the blues and rock and roll without knowing that I had a future in it, And
so when was this?
Oh, just my entire childhood. Just this is my parents' catalog, the blues, rock and roll, Southern rock and stuff like that. So it was like I was accidentally, doing research on something that was going to be very important in my career later. But for me, it was just my childhood. So I was listening to Janis, by accident because it was on in the house. And once I was a teenager, I was singing along and I was like, oh, I kind of sound like her. That's funny. What a weird gift to have, like wonder when I'd ever use that kind of, and it's funny because I've used it quite often since, but then I did the improv company out of college and everything. And then I was like shifting my focus, doing scene study for acting and started teaching dance instead of, doing the competitive stuff. And I was like, I want to be a musician too. My father was a musician. So he took me out to like these blues jams and these different places around Cleveland, Ohio, where I grew up. And so like I would just get up on stage with a bunch of strangers and just start singing a song. And, you had to sign up on a sheet and things like that. And these are like the accidental parallels that Janis did herself, but I didn't know that yet. Like I hadn't read her life story. So then I was, 21 years old in a blues band with a bunch of my friends that were the same age, just getting in a beaten up van and going around the country and breaking down and getting ripped off by clubs because we didn't sell enough tickets or whatever, just the real circuit. And she had actually gone through all of that as well. So then once I found her book, Love Janis, I actually went to Laura Joplin's book signing of Love Janis in like either the late 90s or early 2000s as a teenager. And I was like, well, please make it out to Mary Bridget Davies. I love your stuff. Your sister was great, whatever. And so I have an autographed copy of Love Janis from Laura Joplin. And then you fast forward years, and back in 2017, when I was pregnant with my son, she actually hired me to narrate Love Janis, the audiobook.
Oh,
because
wow.
right. So that's how the arc of my my life with Janis has been. And so once I read the story, I was really like charmed by her because she was really intelligent and very funny. And she honestly doesn't get enough credit for that because she was only famous for roughly 3 years. And so she never really had a chance to like blossom, grow up, settle into her groove. It was all hurry up fast, let's get this done, done, done. And then she was gone. So when I first started playing her, it was a little bit of a liability because I was focused more on the young, white hot, fast, living fast, partying, doing all the things she did because that's the experience. And you fade out, you burn out if you do that. So it only took me like one or two runs of playing her to be like, yeah, so you have to treat this like you did with dance. You have to treat this like an athlete. This is a marathon. This is an athletic performance with vocals. So you need to take care of yourself. But yeah, so the good part about that is when if you've read any of the things about her, she was a staunch businesswoman, and so right at the end, like she was really clicking, getting into her own, and her death was very accidental. She hadn't been using drugs for months. And then it just so happened, she went out to the bar with the band for drinks after they were recording the album Pearl at Barney's Beanery in Los Angeles. And then she went back to her hotel at the Landmark, and her then boyfriend and friend were supposed to hang out with her. So she had gotten the drugs like for them, like and so she just took them because they were there, and she was mad because her friend stood her up, and then she never woke up. So the good thing I learned about that is what not to do. Like just through life with Janis and just like playing her and like being in her aura for so long, and it's taught me, how to stay present and fun and wild behind the mic because that's what everybody and it's like my favorite thing to do. But then when it's life, you treat it like a business and stuff. So luckily I got to get past that, wild and crazy stage and straighten out, a luxury she didn't have. So I think about that a lot.
A question. So her sister with the book, for example, that you said that you got to be
Hmm.
the choice to do the narration. Um, did the sister
Hmm.
follow your career? How did this? So you take me from the book
Oh,
signing where,
yeah. Oh, yeah. The book signing, like I said, I was a teenager. It was like in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then years later, there was a musical called Love Janis that was a precursor to One Night with Janis Joplin. And I had auditioned for it. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio at Playhouse Square, and I got the gig. And so when that first happened, Laura and Michael Joplin, Janis's siblings, would come to opening or they'd come to the rehearsals and stuff.
I
So
get it.
I've known them, for a while now. But also Sam Andrew of Big Brother and the Holding Company, he was the musical director. And then that's when I connected with the band and I got to actually front the band. We went to Europe on a bunch of tours. So like I cosmically have actually stood in her shoes with her band, not
That's
just
fantastic.
being in the musical. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So it was that you were on their radar for sure.
For
And
sure.
because
Yes. And of
and
course, then with this, we were on CBS Sunday morning together for Broadway, doing press for Broadway, Laura and Michael Joplin and I, and we were on the Katie Couric show together. And so yeah, so I've known them for a while.
I see. Okay. So now it at Cleveland. Now the show that you premiered in Cleveland that they attended, that the siblings attended. Where was that show?
Hmm. Uh, Playhouse Square,
A
and I
Playhouse
believe it
Square.
was
Okay.
Connor Playhouse. Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm.
So I was thinking, is there a Cleveland Playhouse? Is there
Oh,
Cleveland?
there was Cleveland Playhouse close. It was further down into the east side of Cleveland from downtown. But yes, there was Cleveland Playhouse and then Playhouse Square. And Playhouse Square is like the Broadway hub. Yeah.
Okay, I know that, I think I had some in my deep dark past. I think it did something at the Cleveland Playhouse ages
Oh,
ago.
sure.
I loved Cleveland. I thought it was
Yeah.
just underrated city. So, and really classy. Um,
It has had a resurgence too, so it's very nice. Yeah.
Now, another interesting point I want to bring up is that you are co-author, co-director,
Yeah,
created,
co-directing. Yeah.
yeah, co-directed, created and written, etc. And so you are. both the performer and you and Brian McDonald are actually the co-directors. So you're the
Yes.
performer. So how does that work? I mean, do you get to say to Brian, look, I'm her. I want to do it this way. I'm sorry. Well, how does that work?
Luckily, we really have been talking since, geez, like summertime and having Zooms and just shedding and going, okay, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And because I've only been the actor, up until co-directing, I never had a chance to have a say in who was cast in the show as Janis's muses, as Etta James, Nina Simone, Bessie Smith, Aretha Franklin, and the blues singer. And I'm the one up there doing it every day, and I know what it takes vocally and just like stamina wise for what is required of these other women. And so there would be times when they're like, well, we liked the way this girl looked, and then she would have a bad attitude, or she would lose her voice 2 to 3 shows into the week because it wasn't suited for her, the track. So I finally got to be at the director's table at the auditions via Zoom. And Brian and I agreed on the same girls. It was easy. We were just like, oh, we're very cohesive, and there are just certain things, because the show is written. We can't change the show, but we can use different projections, and we can do whatever lighting we want, and we can make transitions different and give the muses more stage time in their performances and really showcase them, because without them there is no Janis Joplin, which is kind of the point of this show. It's
Okay,
not
so
really touching on her personal life and like her demons. This is talking about how Janis Joplin the musician became, and who the women that came before her were that informed her sound. Yeah, that she
so,
looked
so
up
I
to.
I think let's focus on that for just one quick minute, because I think this is like such a worthy um, support for the show, which is
Yeah,
that the show is sitting on the talents of what you call the muses.
yeah,
And the muses, we've got Etta James, Bessie Smith, Nina Simone, Aretha Franklin, Odetta Holmes, the Chantels, and
yeah.
then
And then the
you
one woman that is encompassing is she's the blues woman is the name of her track, because we laughed that we couldn't also have a Coco Taylor, and we also couldn't have a big Mama Thornton, and then also a Sippy Wallace, or the show would be 7 hours long. So the one blues woman kind of encapsulates those that we couldn't just individually call out. Yeah.
So how many muses are there?
There are 4 actresses that play them, but so we have Etta James at the top, then we have the Chantels, then we have the blues singer, we have Odetta, we have Aretha Franklin and Nina Simone, and then we have a loose ensemble called the Joplin Airs, which are just the girls that perform with Janis doing backup vocals. So there's like seven different muses in the show when you add them all together, yeah, all the different roles that they all play.
Okay, now I understand better. Now, again, it's interesting because these are women that are talented amongst themselves and in themselves, and they're portraying, these amazing talents. Um, and the same question would arise, how do they integrate their talent with the talents they're portraying? Do you have
Sure.
any insights on that? I mean, you're directing them.
Yeah, well,
So,
that's the thing. It's when you see the want in the person and you hear their raw natural gift, and from a director's position, you're like, I can bring that out of you. We can, Brian and I are like, I this is the one I think should be doing Bessie Smith, and this is the one I think should be doing Etta James, because she's got that earthiness that we could really farm out of her. And that's exactly what has happened. Because as much as these women had time to, listen to the people that they're portraying, in the couple months leading up to our first rehearsal, they didn't get any direction, and then that's where we come in. And then of course once you put the costumes on, and once you're on stage, and once you're looking at the set, everybody just ramps it up to 11 and brings their A game. So yeah, there's just moments when it's like, what, how about when you're up there you do XYZ, and they're like, oh, okay, and then they do XYZ, and you're like, perfect, that was it. But so that's so nice, because when I was only in the role of being the actor only, we are not allowed to give each other notes. It's totally frowned upon. But even though I'm in this weird place where I get to co-direct and I'm also starring in the show, it's only for the betterment of the whole show. In fact, like the things I have notes on have nothing to do with Janice, because Brian's directing me in that moment, So when I'm up on, like, we're in tech rehearsal right now and we're doing our, lighting, building all the different lights and cues right now. And, I'm just doing a monologue and he goes, okay, but you know what? When you're doing this, this is what you're referring to and this is what you're coming back to. So have that informed in your body when you're doing the monologue the next time. It's like, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and it's only, like I said, to improve the quality of the show across the board.
And the whole of the cast and crew, I was reading everybody's bio. Everybody's a narrative expert. Everybody's embodying narration Randy Johnson is the creator and writer.
Yeah.
And this is a man who has done musical portraits of Janis and
Totally.
Louis Prima, Kelly Smith, Conway Twitty.
Yeah.
And then let's see the other.
Well, the Mike Tyson he did at
Mike
the
Tyson. I'm reading
yeah.
that. Elvis the concert. So this is a person that is an expert at channeling some of the great talents
that
of the
world
world.
Between concert and musical, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so that was an interesting contretemps too, Mary Bridget, where it's like, okay, but he's not, it's not just one thing, Broadway, it's concert and it's the person.
Yeah.
So, and then, yourself and also Miss James Alsop, that person impressed me also.
Oh, yeah. Her bio is ridiculous. And she's great in the room. The girls listen to her. Her choreography is fresh and fun and new. And we were just with her yesterday going through those things. And then she'll be back, to judge us up at the end of tech before opening. But yeah, a pedigree for sure of really, really impressive choreo.
Now, did you find her or did she find you?
Brian found her. Yeah.
And how do you work with her? She's not doing class with you guys. How do you work with her?
Oh, well, yeah. So when we do our, rehearsal blocks, we'll get like the 4 hours at the top of the day where she'll go through each of the numbers with the girls that are in it that has choreo. And normally that's in one that I'm, singing the lead. And so we're all just in the room and we're just going through our entrances and exits. And it's really funny too, because sometimes she'll be on her feet and she's like looking at her book of what she thought for this. And she's like, and now we're in the space, so I hate it. So let's do this instead. So it's fun that it's been, it's very fresh and inspired, which is great. Yeah.
Okay, so that helps me a lot to understand, the different talents are. But this is such an interesting thing for me because it's all about the historical narration, but it's not. It's a re-looking at something that, and a person and a time. And that was my next question. I know Richard's saying I got to go to quick break, but my next question was, how much does the time period in which this occurred affect the production? And you mentioned that, you start to get zhuzhed up when the costumes come on and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I wondered, the periodicity, what you're harking back to, if that kind of thing matters.
Oh, absolutely. And we use, and if we can use practical microphones from the era, we do. So like when it's Bessie Smith, she's standing at an all around, or when it's the Chantels, it's like that Elvis microphone. For Odetta, we fly in like a studio mic and things like that. And because everything should be as close to time period as possible, because it does matter, and it is that important. Same with the costumes for all of us, the jewelry, and the band is also dressed, period appropriate, and it really just it gets everybody in the zone. And it really helps the authenticity of the show. And that was Janis's biggest thing, was her authenticity. So it's good to be able to not just be like, and here we're all on headsets like Britney Spears or something, doing something very modern and insane. The men all play, all the guys in the band are playing like period appropriate guitars like an SG or a Gibson 350 or things like that that were the actual guitars that the musicians that played for her used to make the recordings. Same with our keyboard player. We have this big Hammond organ deck built for him, and the drummer has this cool psychedelic, drum head on his bass drum. And so everybody kind of got the memo that is as close as we can get to the source, let's be there. So yeah, that does help.
Yeah, I can only imagine it's important at the same time. There's got to be some sort of thing where it's like, all right, the we're looking back in a way, but we're also looking forward just because, you're performing Janis Joplin, who had such a meteoric career, such a
Yeah.
short time, and was such an influence both in, female, what do you want to call it, assertiveness,
Yeah, yeah. And just
and
social
also
culture. So she
fashion.
would be first. Yeah. And that was just she and her best friend, Linda Gravenites. She didn't have a stylist. The first stage costume that they built together was from a kitchen tablecloth. It was that lace that, and they made like a bishop sleeved tunic out of the top and some pants to match. But they both had that idea of, because Janice was the first woman wearing pants on stage. Girls were
I did
still
not
wearing
know
dresses.
that.
Yeah, standing in the background and waving, tambourines and things like that in white culture, in pop culture. I mean, there were other, gospel blues artists before Janis that wore pants, but Janis was the first, white girl rock star. And so it was important to her to be breaking out of that mold and using fun gem tones and jewel tones and using velvet, using feathers or fur, like things that just made everything completely special, so that she stood out from, because as she even said herself when she first started playing with Big Brother and the holding company, she's like, I was just like a regular girl that walked out on stage. Because she said she was
So,
wearing what she wore to college. She's wearing like, a very demure, a very street clothes, if you will. And so after that moment of being on stage and seeing how much she loved it and how important it was for her, then the style and the fashion all went through the roof as well.
so I want when we go. Richard's giving us a quick sign. We got to go to quick break, but I want to know a
Okay.
little bit more about Janis's upbringing. Um, what led her to be such a trailblazer, and then how do you feel, Mary Bridget? This is maybe something you can think about.
Okay.
I mean, your background, I beyond what the theater sent me, I looked a little bit about your advocacy for women's rights.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I wondered about that and if there was a cohesiveness between you performing this breakout person in
Right.
female culture and what you do, as a single mom, your daily crusade, I should
Yeah,
say.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and it's super important. So, Richard, why don't we go to quick 10 seconds, and then I'm just going to refresh my tea. And let me just say one thing, which I have
Sure.
neglected to say. This is a night with Janis Joplin. It's at the Ensemble Theater Company. Previews Wednesday, April 1st, opening Saturday, April 4th at 8 p.m., the press opening, and running through Sunday, April 26th. That's a long run. That's great. It's at the
Yeah.
New Vic Theater. It's 33 Victoria Street in Santa Barbara. And I'm going to announce that a couple more times and how you can get tickets, of course. And also, if you're interested, maybe you're a journalist and you're listening to this, you can hear Mary Bridget Davies is a fantastic interview. And this is an incredible piece of theater as well. And so we're going to announce a little bit about that when we get back from the break. Don't turn that dial back with Mary Bridget Davies as Janis Joplin, A Night with Janis Joplin. Okay, Richard.
Go ahead and get your tea freshened up.
Okay,
Fresh enough.
let me
Freshen.
see if I can.
Are you done?
No, halfway.
Thank you much. Noro got an evil girl put a mark on his leg, and she was controlling him with some sort of devil.
Oh, I believe you.
It ain't food.
Oh, it's food. I was Deb.
It's
So,
not
Mary
food.
Bridget, how old are your children?
Oh, actually, he's right here. He's my son. He's 8.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi, sweetheart. Hi there. You're 8 years old? Stranger
Yep.
Things? Yep.
Yeah.
I see the t-shirt. Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, we're playing video games.
Yep.
I am watching.
He's watching this show. It's called One Piece. It was
Yeah.
based off this anime series, but this is
Wow.
live actors on Netflix. It's fun. It's like pirates, kind of mixed with Greek mythology. Kind of, it's fun. Yeah.
My question is that because
No,
I
but
like it.
You like it?
Yeah, and it is like a very cool live action.
Right.
And Dad has been watching some of it.
That's right.
He got all the way to season 2, episode 8.
Oh wow.
But
A lot of free time.
He fell asleep during it.
So you'll have to catch up. Yeah.
Yeah, so
You
if
know-
I don't watch anymore until May, we'll all watch it together.
Cute.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I
Cool.
think you must be an incredibly bright young man for 8 years old if you are understanding Greek mythology at this point. That's amazing to me.
Yeah, and he also likes Percy Jackson and the Olympians, where Percy Jackson is who is he the son of? Poseidon. And so he's one of those Nephilim, kind of like half god, half human. And he's a teenager, and he's being ushered back into the world of the gods and stuff. And that's
Really?
on Disney. Yeah, he likes.
I had no
it's on Disney
idea.
Plus. It's really charming. It's really. I mean, like as a parent, you're like, oh gosh, I hope I'm not sitting here watching mindless cartoons all day, and you're not. It's actually.
And so this Poseidon's son, he's a demigod. That's the word in Greek. Yeah, where he's half man, half god. Yeah, it's a demigod.
Yeah,
how
and so there's like a
interesting.
camp for all of them.
A camp.
It's hilarious.
It's called
like a demigod
Olympus.
camp for them to all hone their exactly, and to hone all their talents that they got from their god, whichever parent, whether it was Athena or Zeus or whoever their parent was. Yeah,
How cool that your son is interested in that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Cool.
A future scholar of classics at Oxford, no doubt.
No doubt. I'd love it.
It's fantastic. And you guys don't live in Santa Barbara, obviously. Where are you based?
No. Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, still Cleveland. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we did New York, but then with the pandemic, I was like, we're coming home. Yeah.
Yeah. New York is crazy with kids, I know.
All
So,
set?
all right. Okay, Richard, I'm just going to get the hot water in there, and then we'll go forward.
Okay. All right. No problem. There was a young gal. If you have ever watched America's Got Talent, I think it was the last season or the season before. Young gal, long, straight hair.
Yeah.
Shy as a bird.
Wait, is this the one that sang Hard to Handle?
Yep.
Fantastic. I loved her.
I thought, how is she possessed?
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
what did you just say, Richard? What did you just say?
I said that there was this young gal that she also saw on America's Got Talent. She had long hair, almost down to her waist.
Yeah, like poker straight.
Came out shy as a bird. And then, of course, all right, you go right ahead. Good luck to you. Silence. The music started, and this girl was possessed. I swear, must have been possessed by Janis Joplin. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, she was singing Otis Redding's Hard to Handle. Or maybe she was singing the Black Rose version, probably. But yeah, it was Hard to Handle. It was awesome.
And she was hard to handle. I mean, my Lord, she was all over that stage. But she was incredible. Just incredible.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, you're live.
Welcome back. It's Elizabeth Stewart, and just to shout out them having the time of my life here, speaking with Mary Bridget Davies, who is co-director along with Brian McDonald of A Night with Janis Joplin, not to be missed at the Ensemble Theater Company. Previews Wednesday, April the 1st, open at Saturday, April the 4th, 8 p.m. for the press opening. and then running through Sunday, April 26th at the New Vic Theater, 33 Victoria Street in Santa Barbara. And of course, we were talking Mary Bridget Davis during the break when all great things were said. She introduced her 8-year-old son who is traveling with her. He's a beautiful child and studying mythology of all things. It's fantastic. And they are living, part of the time, obviously, she has New York City, London, etc. But most of the time she does call Cleveland her home base. There he is. There he is.
Mm-hmm.
You want to say hi on the radio, darling? Say hi to people.
Say hello on the radio?
Yeah.
This is a live radio interview.
Yeah, live radio. So say hi, Santa Barbara.
Hi, Santa Barbara.
There you go. Complete with accent. Fantastic. I know.
Hear it on the radio.
Yeah. We'll play. Richard, there you go. You're going to sing us a song?
No, you're silly.
Fantastic. So, a question for you, Mary Bridget. The idea is, first of all, Janis's background. You mentioned and was a teaser at the very beginning of the show, and I think I know what you're referring to, that there's parallels, some tragic, in your life, in Janis's life. And I'd like you to take us through the beginning of, how Janis came to be Janis, if you would, and then also the parody. Yeah, the parody between you and she.
Well, she had always been an artistic person. She was a wonderful painter as well, which we highlight in the show, and we actually have some of her paintings, copies of her paintings to show off, because I think it is worth, gloating about that Janis was multi-talented and artistic across the board, so we feature that in the show. But she had started off as a painter, and she really liked beatnik poetry and like the beatnik culture, but she was too young. And in fact, hippies is a derogatory term coined by the Beats because they were like, oh, you kids just want to be hip like us, you little hippies, because the beatniks were about, 10, 15 years older than the hippies. And so that's really what Janis wanted to do. If she had her way, she'd be in a jazz club in the East Village, in a giant oversized white painter's shirt, living her best life with Jack Kerouac, And so she had gone to San Francisco immediately out of a high school, like in her very early 20s. She had tried a little bit of technical school, things like that. She went to San Francisco, but kind of like for more the folk scene, beatniks, whatever. And it really didn't work. She got, unfortunately, speed was very popular in San Francisco in the early 60s, late 50s, early 60s. And so she unfortunately kind of got hung up in that scene, and her friends did a show, Passing the Hat, to get her enough money to put her on a bus back to Texas, because, she weighed like 80 pounds and they were worried about her. And they're like, you need to go home, because she had a very stable home life. She had married parents. Her mother was a librarian and her father was a foreman at the oil refinery. And then she had 2 younger siblings, Laura and Michael, and who I think are something like, I think Michael's 9 years younger than Janis, but Laura was in the middle somewhere, maybe 4 years younger than Janis, but they were all close. So she went home and she licked her wounds, and she went and enrolled in UT, and then of course started going to the jam nights at Threadgill's and meeting musicians. And a friend of hers from UT, Chet Helms, had become the kind of umbrella corporation, if you will, called the Family Dog of all of the kids that were in bands, like Moby Grape and the Charlatans, the Grateful Dead, and Big Brother and the Holding Company before Janis was in it. And Chet was also a Texan. And so when he had blown back through town, he was like, hey, well, what are you doing? Like, maybe you should come back to San Francisco, because he knew Big Brother and the Holding Company Chet knew that Big Brother and the Holding Company would be better off if Janis was in it. Let's say that. So he had to sell it to Big Brother. He had to sell Janis on the idea. Janis got to San Francisco, and then she never looked back. That was her success. That's when, lightning struck and all things started firing on all cylinders. But she's still, very young, 24, and
can I interrupt you for 2 seconds? You mentioned a name that I'm very familiar with, the Threadgill's.
Yeah, Threadgill's. It was a honky tonk in Austin, Texas. It was a restaurant, and they would have live music, for people to just get up with other people, like not like, oh, we are a band and you're going to buy a ticket to come see our show. It was just, I play guitar, you play drums, cool. What do you know? Let's do a song. So, and they're called jam nights. And so Janice would get up and sing. And it was often blues because the blues progression is very easy and most musicians can play it. So yeah,
I
that's
see.
where she
Okay.
came. Yeah.
I was going to just mention in a former life we might have known each other. So my son's father, I was a single mom. My son's
Yeah.
father is British, and his, let me see, is it fifth or sixth wife? Her maiden name is Threadgill, and her father was a
Oh,
famous jazz
wow.
musician, Threadgill. And
Oh, wow.
and they actually had something to do with that club. And so my son's step sister is Pie, like that's her name,
Yeah.
Pie
Yeah.
Threadgill. And Pie is
Oh,
a
wow.
singer. Yeah,
Oh, wow. That makes sense.
she's a singer.
Sure.
Yeah. So there's that strong stream there. Yeah. So when you said that, it was like, wow, we
Yeah,
have
that
a
is
connection.
cool.
Now, okay, so now take me to you as
Yeah.
far as, we know the background. I didn't know she was so cerebral, as far
Oh,
as,
yeah. There,
you know,
I always joke, there's this tableau of her because she was only famous for, so many, just 3 years tops, and it's just of this like loud, wild, and brazen, this, that, the other thing. But she would, be sitting in the green room, backstage waiting to get ready for the show, and she'd be reading, Wuthering Heights. And the band would be just warming up or something like that. And so she always had a
wow.
book. Yeah, she always had a book in tow. She was always, reading, collections of poetry or things like that. And so, yeah, it is nice to kind of shine a light on that. Like I said, her mother was a librarian. She actually painted the mural at the library in her hometown. Janice got to do that when she was young, like maybe like 14, 15 years old. And yeah, so the way that my life went is that I was a dancer, so it was that. And then once I realized I could sing, then that's when we were like, oh, okay, well, we should do something with that. And so I started singing with in the dance competitions when there was like an open category or a vocal category. I would submit and do a number, and the dance moms would get really mad because I'd win like first place overalls or top honors, just because the scoring's different. And then we're like, how did a singer win the dance competition? That's so it was kind of fun to be like the bad girl of bad world, but just doing what I loved to do, which I thought was pretty funny. But here, I then when you know what I mean? I was like, oh, like I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings, but I'm sorry, I'm good at my fake job because I'm a teenager. I don't get paid for it. But yeah, that was fun for me. And because like, mischief, who doesn't like a little bit of mischief? So um then when I went to college, that's when it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to be here. It was the same that she did. I was like, I want to be in a band now. I want to, like, why do I need a degree from college on performance when I could be out performing right now? Because I was going
Right.
to, school for performing arts and stuff. So I told my parents, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And they said, well, you're going to have to get a job and take care of yourself. And I said, I will. And so I worked at UPS from loading package trucks from about 11 p.m. till 9 a.m. in the morning, overnights. And then that's when I auditioned for that comedy company and got into with them, and then got to start traveling and going to Chicago and back and forth. So it all just, but then I was like, but the singing thing, like I still want to sing. So then my father being a musician, my godfather being a musician, they were like, well, we know some jam nights. And I went down to Robert Lockwood Jr.'s jam night. Now Robert Lockwood Jr. was Robert Johnson's stepson. The original blues man, the mythos, the sold his soul at the crossroads for blues fame. So his stepson was came to Cleveland at some point, way before I was born, like the 70s or something, and had a standing jam night on Wednesday night. So then I started going to those and started meeting the musicians and cutting my teeth, as they call it. And then I was asked to be in a band within like a month or two, and that was it. Then that was my calling. That's when it all started happening. And just because I am a strong singer, and if any club we play at, to be like, do you do any Joplin? And I'd be like, you guys, we really need to start doing it because people want it. And then when I had seen, I told you I had met Laura Joplin and got the book and read the book. And when Love Janis had come to town, I think in like 1998 or something like that, I was still in school. I was too young to go. And so I didn't get to see it. But then it came back through in the late 2000s. And they were looking for an actress. And so that's when I auditioned for that and made it. And then I moved to Kansas City and started my own blues band out there. And we won the second place International Blues Challenge, like overall, after like 500 bands, and got a record, and we were touring, and it was going great. And then I got an email from a friend that was like, there's going to be a new Janis Joplin show that's probably going to Broadway, and you need to audition for it. So then I did. So then I went to the city, and it was Fleet Week, and it was hot as all get out. And we auditioned for, what was then called One Night with Janis Joplin for the regional. And I got it, and I got to do it in my hometown. The first city was Cleveland. So I got to go and audition and do it. And then I was the alternate. And then I assumed the lead role in my hometown. I got to open the show in my hometown. And then after that, I was number one Janis, which was great. And then we took it to Broadway.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Tony
and how did we get?
yeah.
How did we in Santa Barbara get so lucky to find you?
Yeah, well, because the show had never been open for public licensing before. It was just any time that it was open, anytime it was up, it was, presented by, the Joplin estate or, whoever was behind it and the Broadway producers. But so Scott Spence, Scott, it's like, how many names do I have? Scott had been like, listen, I've been looking for the show for a long time, and finally Broadway licensing said, hey, the show that you've been wanting is available for purchase. And then what he said immediately, he wanted Brian to be the director. And then they said, well, gosh, if we could, let's just go for the long shot and see if Mary Bridget's even available, willing, wants to come. And it worked out perfectly, and here we are. So, yeah.
Well, that is fantastic. And so everybody always wants to know how a famed performer thinks of Santa Barbara, and if you like it, and if your son likes it here, and
we
you
love
think
it here.
of our little big town.
I love your little big town. It's just, it's funny because it's, you have like your upscale downtown area, but then there's like cozy neighborhoods, and, my son is doing kind of like a school program out here. So he's out in, Vieja Valley doing so we're getting to, Hope Ranch, we're getting to spread out, but we've been in rehearsals like all day, every day since we've gotten here. So once we open the show and have like a day off, then we'll get to go to Stearns Wharf. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Stearns Wharf. Yeah, and the aquarium and like the fun, but right now, we're just work. But
right.
But everything that we have experienced so far has just been lovely. So, yeah.
I think it's so interesting. So Scott found that, this was a licensing that you asked you. I mean, what is so interesting for me, being a Santa Barbara person and knowing the history of Santa Barbara, is this town was built by, literally built by off-the-wall women who happened to, I'm thinking of the Natural History Museum, I'm thinking of the Historical Museum, I'm thinking of the Art Institute, I'm thinking of the Art Museum, I'm thinking of all of these, I'm thinking of the Botanical Gardens. So, Mary Bridget, all of these places that were established, in the first quarter of the 20th century were established by women.
Yeah,
and this is such a unique town in this way, because I'm not saying that the women had nothing to do with being attractive and actually attracting maybe for their fourth or fifth or sixth husbands very wealthy men. And then they inherited their estate. And then once their estate was the women's estate, they'd say, okay, so now I'm going to establish a botanic garden. Here's 65
100%.
acres. And now I'm going to establish the Natural History Museum. Here's my mansion. Now I'm going to establish the Music Academy of the West. Here's my mansion.
Yeah, like true philanthropy. Right. Yeah.
And so the town, I can't think of one institution that didn't have that kind of female leadership. In fact, we were saying our kind of classy downtown, it has a certain look because of a certain woman, and the woman was named Pearl Chase. And in the first quarter of the 20th century, Pearl said, I want the architecture of this town to look this way. And so she studied the architecture and brought in people that she thought were going to be beneficial to establishing a face. And it
Absolutely.
was all female, all female. She brought in 2 female architects, by the way, in the
That's great.
1920s, 1930s. So, it was like, okay, so this was a little, it's so interesting that you're performing this wonderful female role
Yeah.
in this town where, I mean, all of our benefactresses were benefactresses. And I can't, I don't,
So
probably
great.
no one's probably told you that, but this is
No,
such a great
but I
show.
love that. I like that's a nice little nugget of wisdom to be bestowed upon me today. So thank you for that.
Yes, and I think just Katy Perry also is born and raised here, and she's
Oh, no
quietly
kidding.
established. Yeah, quietly established a little school, and I mean, there's all these
that's great.
wonderful. Yeah, there's also a jazz and blues. She's wanting to be anonymous, so I won't say, but
Sure.
she's established a school for children so that they can actually learn jazz and blues and the
That's
recording
important.
industry. And
Good.
she's a very wealthy woman who said, I'm giving this, she lost a child, and she said, I'm dedicating this particular school to my child.
Sure.
And this is all the legacy of Santa Barbara is like this. It's just
Yeah.
so interesting.
It feels right. Yeah. It's
Does
just like
it?
it's like a very just as soon as we got here, just because we had to fly from the East Coast and we landed at LAX and we jumped in the rental car. And of course, my son, that was a long day, so he was conked out and I was just driving up here. And as soon as we got out, I mean, he's just like, oh my God, it's beautiful. Look at these flowers. Oh my God, look at that building. It's so, and I'm like, I know. And just thinking that like a woman was the mastermind behind it. It
Totally,
makes sense to me.
totally. Mastermind, but also, we still have, what do you call it? Her foundation here is still super important. And
That's great.
and it's, everybody's very religiously adhering to her legacy as far as,
Good.
and where you're performing actually, I know that the legacy of the theater there is like, she said, I only want a certain height of all the buildings. Other than that, we're going to be LA one day. So I mean, it's down to the
No,
theater
that's
that you're
very
performing
important.
in.
Yeah, no, that is super
So,
important.
and it was a lot of female architects were like, okay, we're going to keep this human scale. And so that's a lot of the legacy here. Anyway, I'm going on, and I just want to give another shout out. Super interesting conversation with Mary Bridget Davies, A Night with Janis Joplin. You got to see this, my dear listeners, and it's Ensemble Theater Company, and you know where that is. It's at the New Vic Theater, 33 Victoria Street in Santa Barbara. It's going to be previewing Wednesday, April 1st, opening Saturday, April 4th at 8 p.m. That's the press opening. And then also, I told you guys, if you wanted to get in touch for press materials, you're going to call David Elzer at 818-508-1754. And David can hook you up with an interview and press materials as well, as he was so kind to do. And catch Mary Bridget Davies out of rehearsal, that was a challenge. And I really appreciate that.
Dinner break. Yeah, this is our dinner break. I have to get my costume back on in literally like 30 minutes.
We appreciate it so much. Okay, the show's running through Sunday, April 26th at the New Vic Theater. You all know how to get there. You all know how to go. And I thank you very much. Thank you so much for speaking to us, both of you, Mary Bridget Davis.
I know, yeah. Listen, Elizabeth saying thank you for speaking to her, Miles.
Thank you, Miles. Thank you, Miles. I look forward to meeting you down at the Natural History Museum.
Yeah, we're gonna get to go to do all that fun stuff once we're open and we have the time, right? We belong to the theater until we open at this point. Yeah.
Yes.
That sounds
Well,
great.
thank you so much, Mary Bridget. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you. You too. Have a great one.
Bye.
Bye.